Okay, back at ya, peoples. So, getting later in the evening, but I wanted to do MSTY. So let's take a look. 1675. So it was actually down 9 points, which is kind of positive in that we had a 1720, one of our lower ones right here, which made me very nervous. Whereas when we had the 1830 last week and we were down at 1500, that was a lock for us winning the weekly. This made me a lot more nervous. However, the good news is it went down slightly and we went up slightly. Yay! So 3508. And I sort of misstated when I did Coney about being equal percentages, you know, that both funds got bought. That's why they put on new trades. Well, we went from 4.4 million to 4.875. So we put 475,000. Well, on face value, that doesn't look as big as Coney because Coney put 1,075,000 shares. But look at the base. So they moved up like 4.8% of new shares were bought out of their base, right? Additional. We bought more than 10%. So I think people are seeing that MSTY's performing a little bit better relative to not now running past their weeklies, although this week is a threat. And again, it's yin and yang. These funds go back and forth. And I know I told you, which I did, shift some shares out of Coney into MSTY, and with the idea that I'll probably collect this payment and hopefully I'll be right and it's bigger than Coney's, and I'll switch back when they drop down in price. And that's all. It's just a ratio between the two. I still own both. I just flipped a good percentage of my Coney for MSTY because they had blown. And then, you know, and I did that even before the fund manager in Coney blew it last week, right? So that just pretty much assured that I made the right short-term call. I don't expect you guys to follow suit. If somebody does, great, right? But I understand maybe you don't want any short-term capital gains. You just want to ride it out. So as a reminder, the thing that I'm going to be bringing into each of these funds is what I call hedging strategies. Because as we get longer into the tooth, okay, I went a little long on coin just in Coney of talking about this, but again, if somebody only watched MSTY and didn't watch that, skip forward the next minute or two if I go on this rant. But I want you guys to have something that when you see the market turn against us, you know, I'm bullish BTC and I'm bullish Coinbase and I'm bullish MicroStrategy, but they are very much tied to BTC, and unfortunately, it's seemingly right now BTC is also tied to risk on, risk off. So when the NASDAQ and the FOMO stocks, NVIDIA and the general markets move up, then money flows, right? Liquidity flows into BTC. You know, having been a gold bug in the 2000 decade, I learned that it was all about hard assets, and what worked for gold was an inverse of the dollar, but not always an inverse of the stock market. The stock market could sell off and gold stocks could do okay. Now, in initial liquidity event, if in 3 days we drop 20% in the Dow and the NASDAQ, I can assure you that gold stocks and crypto and our Coney and MSTY and a lot of these Yomex funds, they're going to suffer dollars, right? People are going to sell them. Because of other margin calls and other kinds of things. That doesn't impact everybody, but it clearly has a liquidity event, right? So all I'm saying is we're making these great returns, unbelievable returns on these assets. And there are some hedging strategies, and I want to get more and more into that. I built my Discord. I'll do a live here in the next week or two. I'll post that in advance and everybody will see it. And then I'm going to try some lives for you. You know, I feel like giving back for all the things that the subscribers coming in and are loyal to my channel. I see in your comments, I see the thanks, and much appreciated, right? Comes from my heart. I feel it. I'm not about to quit on you guys. I'm going to continue my content and up my content, right? This is what I do. You know, I'm retired from my professional career, so this is what I choose to do, right, with my time. And as you can tell, I kind of love it, right? So I don't know if anybody saw that comment, but that kid that just asked me when I put out my video about Misty and making $40,000 a month, and he said, well, that's a spreadsheet. How do we know you're real? I wanted to say, well, geez, what do you want? You want me to give you all my account numbers so you can give it to one of your friends who's a hacker? And I actually did get my Fidelity IRA hacked. And it turned out to be a Russian. The fraud department tracked it. But they were able to cash out some stocks into crypto and wallet out the crypto, right? So they gave me, for those of you that know this, I don't have it in my Ameritrade and my Schwab, but I have it in the Fidelity, where I have a little device that generates a code. So every time I go to log in, I gotta activate that random number selector, and it produces a random number, and they see it on their end. So, you know, so I made humor out of that. So look under the comments under the video I did about making 40,000. And, you know, it was kind of insulting to me, but at the same time I understood. I said, how do I know you're not on your mom's computer in the basement, you know, and based on your spelling or grammar, and, you know, mistrust runs both ways. So, but initially it angered me, but you can't really, you know, the bigger you get on YouTube, I guess the more you're going to get people just messing with you. So anyway, I degraded my rant, my humor. All right, let's get back into this. So they put on 3 trades, right? Which the same thing happened with Coney. So this was a nice 475,000 shares. So it brings money in. They put trades. Now they put 70 contracts on the 1540, right? They bought calls and they sold puts, which is always what a synthetic is, right? Buy the call, sell the put, unless you're closing the position out, right? All right, and I usually refer to that as a roll, right? I'm closing that and opening a different strike price, right? Whereas this is just add, right? They're just adding position. And then they sold a weekly short because they had the money. All right, let's look at them. So they sold 70 contracts. They collected $17.8 times 70 times 100. If you ever wonder why the math, right? So if you see this, I just say this column times 100, because each contract is 100 shares. So 124,000 added to our 2.6 million. So we're at about 2,715, right? And that's bringing down, even though this is a loss, the loss is getting smaller, right? And where did that loss come from? Way back when we had our 1280 and we closed out that weekly, right? So we lost significant amount of money, right? We sold something for 28, even though it was only 30 contracts, but we had to buy it back for 174, so we lost 438, right? And it's just the way it works sometimes. You get hurt. And then they lost on these, right? We sold something and got 68,000. And so, and this was the one that just absolutely killed us, right? 913 contracts. We sold something for 28, and we had to buy it back for 261. So there's $21 million that we lost on that transaction. So I don't want to rub salt in the wounds, and we're kind of through that, and we're better for it. So let's go look at our synthetics. So on our synthetics, we're maintaining this $14 million, you know, if you will, month to date. This is our paper, which is a real gain in the account. It just hasn't been actualized. We would have to sell it to get the money, right? But it's a paper gain. So this is getting Well, this is getting worse because what happens when you're at 1675, you're above this. So when you buy the call's already worth more because it's a lot bigger, right? If tomorrow this whole thing, closed out and we're at 1675, we would be, 11 some, this would be 100 and something and this would be 0, right? Because the put would have no value and the call would just be how much above 1540 it was. So anyway, enough of all of the math. So this is a position that we stand to gain on as we move up, but we have to be careful of how fast and how far we move up because we don't want to hurt our weeklies. Again, yin and yang with the weeklies, right? Here's a great summary of the weeklies, then I'll go over to holding. So this actually moved down 8 points, and we actually moved up, right? We love to see that. It happens when they're small amounts. Okay, here's where we're hurting though, and I'll show you in holdings in more detail. But here's the summary. We collected 2.76 million, but we're behind 20. We have a 27% loss on top of the 2.7. So I don't show the number here, but I show it in holdings. So you can figure out that it would be about 3.5 if you did the percentages on the map. So I think it's around 3.5 that we'd have to buy it back. But we got 3 more trading days, right? And yet we're still, and the only reason it's behind, even though if it closes 1675 we'd win it all, is because of the time left, 3 days, and they keep the premium up, and the premium will just start declining rapidly with 3 days left, right? So let's go take a look at that. So you don't care too much about our cash, although we're setting nice in cash because we got like 15 million in what? Let me go back to May. What did that net us? Yeah, 15.7 million added to the account because of the 475,000 shares, right, that were added. All right, and what is that mathematically? It's 10.8. So yeah, 3.5, I was right. So what happens, and look at this, here's our 14 million, so nothing wrong with that. I mean, Coney's got 41 million, right? They're losing their butt in all of the synthetic, in the short call, they got really no income, 2 cents, 3 cents, right? And they really lost in the synthetic. So we're struggling to get a payment there, but they're gonna probably cash out that 14 million. And they're setting a little better on their weekly calls this week. Okay, so here we are with 885 being the bulk, right? Now, what were those written at? They were written at 1720. Remember, we're at 1675. So if we stayed below that, right, we're going to collect the 2.6. But right now, they're saying it's got a, is that the right number? 37? Yeah, I'm sure I got that correct. Although that does seem high. But I know I pulled those from the holding sheet. Okay. So they're underneath. This one is a little bit, or this one we're gaining some. Why? Because we wrote a 1740, right? They're only 10, unfortunately. But at 30, we had written it, I think, at 32. Let's go look at the 1740. Yeah, we wrote it at 32.10. And this one, we wrote at 29.40. Yeah, those are the right numbers. We wrote that at 29.42, right? So with 3 trading days, they're saying it's still worth 37. Well, if a day goes by and we're below 1,700, this is going to drop, right? And then it'll be 2 days, and it'll be 1 day, right? So the only thing we don't want is to be above the 1720. Because it's our lowest number, right, in terms of the strike price. We got a lot more room, but these are 80. They're 1/10 what this is. So we do not really want to lose that, right? We only have 2.67% percent before we hit the break even, right? Or we hit the number that we could keep it all, but a penny more and it starts costing us. This, we got a little more breathing room. I mean, I'm very bullish where MSTR is an underlying, but I could easily see it consolidate. I mean, I think it's going to 1,800 and 2,000 in the, a month. It could be a couple weeks. Let's hope it's not in 3 days, because we would win it on the synthetic, but we would lose it on the weeklies, and that could hurt our payment. Okay. So I think I covered everything here. Fair value, they're saying it's worth $34.91 when you take these two numbers into account, right? And we're trading at $34.75. So we didn't go up as much percentage-wise as Coney. But Coney had a good day. They really did. Coin and Coinbase, because I own some coin stock as well. I should get called out this week, and I've written calls for about $25 worth over the last 3 weeks. And so I'm going to get, if I get called out this week, I'm happy, because I'll go deploy that money that was in coin, which isn't paying a dividend, but I probably have a 20% gain with all the calls I've written over the last 5 weeks, maybe even 6 weeks. So it's been a nice return, but it takes up a big chunk of cash that I can go deploy into GDXY or into YBIT, which are my 2 new additional funds that I cover. And I don't cover anything that I don't own. So I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm just saying I love and I'm motivated to cover it because I own it. I got skin in the game, although the kid doesn't think I own any. So I guess he just wants me to show him all of my IDs and everything. Like that's going to happen. Okay, so I degrade. Let's take a look at payments and talk about it. This is a difficult one. This one only has a couple months, but when I go back into Coney, and I've been covering, for 5 months, 6 months, then it's easy to see things, right? I can go watch somebody else's video going back 9 months, although most don't do the kind of detail that I do. So we got a loss here, right? This isn't going to change because, we have 1 more week, and in this fund, we're lucky if we can knock 4 million, right? It's just the amount of contracts based on the amount of stuff. So we're only going to get that down to 10 at best, and that's only about 10 million of 4.8, right, left. Is still a couple bucks, so at best we're going to get this down to a loss, right? Now where we've got money over here, that if we didn't add all these shares, this would be 450, 460, right? But so right now I'm seeing, although last month, they had a loss over here and they still gave them 11 cents to make this 252. But I'm still going with my $2. I don't think they want to risk the MSTY people getting $1 or 75-cent payout. It just would kill their yield. But so I'm hoping, I really want to see us win this, because this will be the last weekly that we can win, right? We're going to collect the money on Friday for week ending 6/7, right? But on Wednesday, and that happens to be the payday, but on 6/5 is when they declare on Wednesday. So we won't have resolved that. So the only thing I can say is this, this thing, this synthetic, the 14 million plays into some of the thinking. Hey, they got 14 million here. So it's possible and probable as they finish the week, and they could do it even beginning of next week, that they go ahead and roll this into a different one. They could roll it into 1590, 1620, still use the 719 target just to collect this cash. So the whole purpose would be to have that cash so they have more readily available cash. They don't have to dig into their treasuries, right? Because that's yielding 4 or 5%. I mean, it's an annual yield. But still, it gives them a little bit of money to pay us each month, right? It's small. It's probably 3 or 4 or 5 cents. I didn't do the math, but I could. So that's kind of where we are on that. This week is a little tight on the weeklies. I'm going to go back and go over that. But we added a further out today of a 1770. So when they do that, that tells me they're thinking the right way, they're behaving the right way. They can't fix that we're in a 1720, right? So this is where we set. The bulk is at 1720. So if you see 1720, put a chan on, do something, and send it back down. I don't believe in any of that, so I don't know why I told you guys to do it. But, you know, knowledge is power. At least you know where you want it to be repelled, right? Because we want to capture that. So anyway, I'll let you guys go. I was long on my rants on Coney, and I apologize. All right, Bruce out. Have a great evening or morning when you see this, and let's go at it again tomorrow. Okay, see ya. Again, this is Bruce signing out. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, for fun and entertainment only. Bye.